Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It is wonderful to have you here, and today I'm going to take a moment to clarify a few things. Or maybe a better way of putting it would be, I'm going to attempt to clear the air a little. As of late, I've noticed a fair few comments stating that a particular way of playing a tank, or a particular setup for a tank, or a particular playstyle for a map is the only and best way to play said tank. It's the only and best setup for said tank, or it's the only way to play said map. And I've not really given my opinion on this because I felt like I needed time to think about it and put my words together in a way that conveys what my opinion is, basically, and that's what I want to do in this video. Lately, Wargaming have been releasing map guides. And these map guides have been produced with the aid of various CCs and CAs in the Wargaming Community Contributor and Community Ambassador program. And to an extent, I'm okay with map guides. If you're new to the game, then of course a helping hand pointing you in roughly the right direction is good. That's helpful. That's what you'd want as a new player. You want to be guided slightly as to what would and wouldn't work for you as a new player. The problem that I have with any content like this, though, is that it can quickly go from here's what I think you should do to here's what you should do. It can very quickly become, in some people's minds, sort of tanking gospel. You know, it's just right. You don't question it. It's what you should do. And for me, that's where I find that my opinion varies a little in that regard. Now, of course, we do need to apply reason to this discussion because, you know, I think every discussion needs some balance to it. There are, of course, certain things that you shouldn't do in World of Tanks. For example, drive off a cliff and kill yourself.
I'm not a Star Wars fan, but even I got that reference, and I just watched you drive straight off that cliff.
Don't do that. Or don't sit an entire game AFK on purpose. You know, don't be that person that goes out into battle and puts the controller down. You shouldn't do that. Don't shove teammates into enemy fire. You know, the points like this. I could go on, but you get my point. You know, this kind of sportsmanship does need to be applied to the game, and all players should be respected. You know, that's where I'm getting at. Well, that's what I'm getting at. From that sense, you know, there are certain things that you shouldn't do. Yeah, that's, you know, as a baseline, that's a given. And I think we can all agree on that. For me, the line between do's and don'ts becomes hazy when we start to talk tank and map strategies. Too often, you'll hear people say things like, heavies shouldn't go that way, or this map must be played like this. And it's at this point where I tend to disagree because, well, I disagree but with a few exceptions, obviously, like the ones that I've just listed. Those are the exceptions. But for me, there is no right or wrong way to play World of Tanks. And an excellent demonstration of this is the CC Slapperfish Jr. Check out his channel if you haven't. If you haven't already, go check him out. Now, this guy, he pulls off plays that would get most players killed. And I know it's not just me who's noticed this. Other people in my streams have noticed. Like, they've commented and said, how I saw where you went on the map, I saw what you spotted, I saw what was around you, and you're back here. How are you still alive? You know, it's just his playstyle. And his playstyle has received criticism in the past, and this is the kind of crux of my discussion. If it's stupid, but it works, then it's not stupid. There is no right or wrong way to play the game. If a playstyle works for you, then by all means, don't let me or anyone else stop you or tell you that you're wrong. An example from me is I run my consumables on most of my tanks are repair kit, smoke, and med kit. I will always stick with smoke over a patch kit or any other consumable. Now, these examples aren't so relevant to World War II players, but obviously the point still applies. You can switch You can switch smoke or patch kit for rations, for example. Put that in the place of smoke or patch kit. The point still applies. Smoke for me is invaluable, but for other players, rations are invaluable, or a patch kit is invaluable. Are you wrong for using different consumables? No, of course you're not. If that's what works for you, then that's what works for you. If you're a new player, then you may benefit from some helpful advice on what might work best for you based on observation of your playstyle, but I am always very cautious when it comes to stating that A, B, or C is how you should be doing something in the game. I've seen any number of playstyles in this game, very few of which could be called wrong. If you have found what works for you and the wider team, then do it. Another item that I'll cover in this video as well, because it's sort of on the same agenda and it falls under the same heading, I think, is the notorious map pinging that we see in the game. And yes, I will be the first to admit I have done this. So I'm not saying that, I'm somehow perfect. I'm not. I've pinged people on the map many times because, you die, and in the heat of the moment, you ping the map because you believe that your team shouldn't be doing what they're doing. Like somehow you've been, blessed with the all-seeing eye and we know everything, We've all been there. And again, this falls under the what you should and shouldn't be doing sort of conversation or category like we've been talking about in this video. More than likely, you've been so involved in your game you're not aware of why things are happening or what is happening elsewhere. And this happened to me yesterday. Last alive on my team after holding a flank solo, second to last teammate dies, and subsequently pings my square telling me to drown myself. We lost, but I came top of the team with 5k damage and 4 kills. But I should go drown myself apparently. I know it's a heat of the moment thing, and just because they don't do what I think they should have done, that doesn't make them wrong, and it doesn't make me right. World of Tanks is a game that thrives on variety, and if everybody did the same thing every time and followed the unwritten, air quotes, rules, then, if everyone did that and followed the what you shouldn't do to the letter, every game would be predictable. What can come across as poor play might just be an attempt to think outside the box. And if anybody's ever watched my live streams, they'll hear me say, I'll think out loud and say, I'm going to try this. This might be dumb, but it might work. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. If it works, then I can improve my playstyle. If it doesn't, then I just have to learn from it. And, this conversation around what you should and shouldn't do has resulted in some arguments. I have seen some players, in comment sections, it can get heated, tempers can rise a little bit. And for me, I just don't believe that there is a right or wrong way of playing. I don't believe that maps have a right or wrong way of being played, and the same applies for each vehicle in the game. If your unique playstyle works for you in any said vehicle on any said map, then do it and try to improve on what works for you, because if you can improve your playstyle and become a better player, then that's just going to benefit your team regardless of what your playstyle is. And this entire discussion, it does have wider applications, or it does have wider, there's more relevancy to this discussion than just a video game. It is okay to have different opinions, and I believe that sometimes the best approach is to agree to disagree. That is okay, and above all, assume innocence over malevolence. That player doesn't deserve to be pinged and told to drown themselves or receive a hate message, whatever it might be. They're just playing a game, whether you agree with their method or not. It's just how it is, and at the end of the day, this is just a game, and we are here to have fun. Alright folks, that's about all I've got for this one. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave it a like, if not a dislike. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and as always, I hope you're all keeping well, and I will see you out there.